Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Unplugged live session. I'm Leonel Rodrigues from Desirable Portugal Tours, and I'm just waiting for my colleague to join. So we're going to start shortly.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Sergio?
Everything's fine over here. How are things down in Lisbon?
Well, it's great. Well, I just went to Porto today. Well, technically to Vila Nova de Gaia, and drove to Lisbon. So I picked up guests that were with you just a few days ago.
Yep.
An
Very nice
amazing
people,
family.
very nice family.
Yeah, yeah. And well, we had a great journey doing Porto to Lisbon with several stops, and we ended up having some well interesting chat. I know that you had also some chat with them about well some subject that is now common to both of us,
Yep.
and it's going to be a little bit the topic for today. So well, once again, welcome everybody. I see a few people watching. Hi, Monica, and I saw someone else already over here. Okay, Jill, thank you very much for watching. So, I'm Leonel Rodrigues from Desirable Portugal Tours. With me, I have Sergi Costa from Portugal EV Tours. Quite a trailblazer on the subject that we're gonna talk today. I know Sergio well from 2018, if I'm not mistaken. That's when you
Yep.
started showing up
Correct.
doing your tours at Douro, and well, we used to stop sometimes at the same winery, and well, you started pretty much a trend over there that was using an electric vehicle to do tours in Douro, in an area that had no infrastructure. Nowadays, I also drive an electric vehicle, my VW ID Buzz, and we're going to discuss a few things that are coming to public right now. So last week, we just got the announcement that some cities in Spain are limiting the access to certain kind of vehicles, some diesel vehicles that are over 10 years old. Some other cities already oblige the vehicles to have like emission stickers, and only the ones that have a certain kind of sticker are allowed in certain areas. And I'm just gonna, well, unfortunately, drop a bomb in here. Lisbon, and I'm gonna base myself on information that it's available online. Okay, so we have Lisbon considered a danger zone by the World Wealth Organization. Okay, because the downtown area of Lisbon and the Liberty Avenue of Lisbon is being facing constantly a level of emissions above what is considered safe by the World Health Organization. Okay, and that is happening in Lisbon. That is happening in some areas in Porto and a few other areas around the country. But I'm talking about areas that have a big concentration of visitors, big concentration of travelers, and of course, well, a big concentration of vehicles. Some people might not know, or some might have forgotten. In 2020, the world has changed. But before that, Lisbon, the former mayor of Lisbon, had a very ambitious plan. He wanted to transform the whole downtown of Lisbon to a zero emission zone. So supposedly only taxis and Ubers that would be electric would be allowed to get there. And pretty much there was a big discussion about that and a big turmoil, but then things didn't happen because well, it happened what we all remember. Okay, but just to let you know, and I'm going back in around 11 years. Sintra, 11 years ago, had a plan for tourism vehicles. First, to create a limit of vehicles, and second, to only allow electric vehicles. I remember this was 2015 or 16. I remember discussing with my boss back on the days about well, which alternatives would we have as electric vans to do tours over there. So this is a subject that has been well spoken a few times. This is a subject that once in a while comes to the top of the table. But in fact, it seems that this is going to happen, and we are facing numbers. We are facing really big concerns about the air quality and people's health on these critical areas that I mentioned. And seeing what is happening just right next door in Spain, I'm not talking about some other countries that might be a bit more strict into that, okay? Some Scandinavian countries, Netherlands, whatever, Germany. But I'm talking about Spain that is really imposing these limits. So my thoughts about this, it's gonna get to us pretty soon. It's gonna get to Portugal pretty soon. And are we ready for this? Okay, is the country ready for this? Are the travelers ready for this? Are the tour operators prepared for this? Well, I'm doing my part. You, Sergio, you started really early and you paved your way. But this is kind of a concern that from one day to the other things can change. And travelers that are booking, certain kind of experiences because they find that it's fun, their fun nowadays might be harmful for others already. Okay, their fun nowadays might be affecting others. So this is a big concern, and it seems to be a wider issue than what it might look at first instance. But I really wanted to bring this subject to you. Well, we are both of us over here, so both of us
Hmm.
we drive electric vehicles, and I really would like to get your opinion about this.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's interesting that we have this topic today because only a couple of days ago there was a plan announced. I think it was 2 days ago that I'm actually seeing the news right now. It was published online on July 15, but I only saw it on the news 2 days ago, which basically for Porto, which is the area that I'm most familiar with
Hmm.
because I basically live over here. We have a highway that actually goes through the entire city. So
Hmm.
imagine Porto, it's like a bubble, and then you have a highway just encircling the town and dividing the city in two different sections.
Yeah.
And it's a highway, a three-lane highway in most of the places. Sometimes in some places it gets to four, 5 lanes in each direction. And
Hmm.
there is now a new plan from the University of Porto to basically just sort of bury the entire highway. The highway will not cease to exist, but by having a second layer on top of the old highway, the city
Okay.
is now trying to promote what they are calling the soft mobility aspect of living in the city, because the highway right now, as it is, it basically forces everyone, if you want to go from the, let's call it from the core of the city into the outer shell of the city, you basically have to go through that highway. It's pretty much impossible. There's very few opportunities to cross over the highway or under the highway. In fact, I don't think that there is a place where you can cross under the highway. It's only bridges and viaducts over the highway, and there's only a
Hmm.
handful of them that are really effective at diverting traffic through it all. So as a result, we have a conundrum over here in the city, which is Porto is it was considered a couple of years ago as the most congested city in the country, even more
Yeah.
than Lisbon. Because in Lisbon, traffic moves slowly, but it moves. And in Porto, no, it comes to a standstill. So this is something that is being studied that soon enough is probably going to be regulated. We've been talking about regulations to try to prevent older vehicles from entering the cities, because we
Hmm.
know that the the older vehicles, they have higher CO2 emissions. The standards were not as strict as they are nowadays regarding emissions. And it leads to things like what happens in Lisbon, where the air quality is deteriorating. And soon enough, well, we're already seeing this in the cities, particularly Lisbon and Porto, where their mayors are trying to phase out or disincentivize people from using their personal vehicles to get into the city. Lisbon wanted to go full electric before the pandemic, the city center.
Hmm.
Didn't
Hmm.
go because of other interests and because of COVID, which basically put everything on hold.
Hmm.
The mayor of Porto is restructuring the city in such a way that it allows people to cycle or to walk pretty much everywhere, at least in the city center. He is actually removing parking spaces from the city, precisely in a measure to disincentivize or to restrict people from, or not having this big incentive to bring people with their personal vehicles into the city center. So these are measures that, although are not regulated just yet, they're already pushing people into a certain direction, steering it towards softer mobility aspects. And soon enough, I think it's going to be mandatory. For example, Lisbon, although not zero emissions, I think it was what 10 years ago or so that they actually enforced the rule of okay, cars older than 2000, they cannot
Yes.
go inside of the city. So
They-
you need to have a more modern vehicle to
mhm.
get into the city.
But
And
you want to guess what? Um,
yep, go ahead.
Everybody goes there,
Everybody,
and I
because there's
see
no
I
enforcement.
see yes, I see vehicles that come from other places to pick up guests in hotels. They are not residents to Lisbon because the only way to go around those rules is to be resident in the area or to have a historically certified vehicle, which, if the vehicle is certified as historical vehicle, cannot be used for tours. Okay. So a vehicle certified as historical vehicle cannot be used for work purposes.
Hmm.
I see those vehicles picking up people in the city. Sorry, I
No,
interrupted
no,
you,
no
but
worries.
I really know about that because as well you know, and some might know. My background comes from off-roading. My background comes from corporate events with these old classic off-roaders, and pretty much I know how the things are moving and how the things are going. So it's not enforced. Okay, I see those vehicles being driven everywhere, and no one really cares. But worse than that, it's to see vans that are quite old, and I'm talking about vans that are like 25, 30 years old,
Hmm.
um, picking up guests for tours in the city. And you look at them and you just wonder to yourself, how did that go through the inspection, the yearly inspection? But that's another story.
Yeah.
But yes, please go ahead. Just
No,
my
so,
two cents.
yeah, so this is the examples that we've been having. Right now, it's still not the law, but soon enough it will be. And for example, there are a few towns already in Europe that have that are starting to move and try to reconvert some of their old roads and highways into parks, into habitational
Hmm.
areas, and promoting things like the soft mobility. One of the towns that I saw was precisely a was Paris.
Hmm.
And I actually it came across my probably my Facebook feed. Basically the CO2 map of Paris 20 years ago and nowadays, and just because of all of the things that they did in the city with limiting the number of vehicles, enforcing lower emission vehicles into the city and whatnot, the air quality in Paris right now, it's substantially better than what it was 20 years ago. You also have, for example, in London, in the congestion charges precisely to
Hmm.
prevent vehicles from entering the historical area. Madrid also is starting to enforce some other things. They have what they call Madrid Rio, where basically they transformed the edges or the roads that were on the edge of the Manzanares River. They transformed that into parks.
Hmm.
With basically for bike trails and whatnot, green areas. And Copenhagen is probably the most known example where they are basically burying highways over there and reclaiming the land just for leisure purposes. They're building parks over there. And so now the area, the town, is actually much more appealing for people who want to live over there because it's not just cars and honking all day long, and especially the fumes coming from the exhaust pipes. So this is actually another thing. This is the big thing that pushed me towards choosing a Tesla uh, almost 8 years ago to develop tourism because I wanted to show people, I wanted to be the living proof that it is possible to successfully run a tour business using an electric vehicle that is both appealing to the customer as well as it is environmentally friendly and environmentally responsible. And so back of the napkin math that I did back in the day, And because the vehicle is used primarily for Douro Valley tours, my rough estimation is that on each tour, I'm saving roughly 80 kilos of CO2 emissions. The other day, I did the math on the number of tours and the number of kilometers that the car already has, and I've already saved something like 86,000 kilos, so 86 tons of CO2 emissions from driving the car.
Hmm.
So it's not negligible, and uh, it's uh, it's substantial. And well, I've been doing it successfully, and soon enough, well, fortunately, I have been seeing other people using EVs because they saw that it works. The infrastructure is now there. But sometimes, if the infrastructure is not there when you first arrive over there, you have to put in some effort. That's what I did. I talked
Yeah,
with a
exactly.
lot of people to just to make them aware that okay, EVs are coming. This is probably going to be the next big thing. And if you are very much into sustainability, I would say it's not a big issue to, for example, offering a charge opportunity. It doesn't even need to be a charging station, but just offer the charge opportunity for people who are visiting you. Because when we go to a vineyard at the Douro Valley, we always stay there for at least 1 hour to do a tour and a tasting.
Hmm.
And if you're not driving the car, might as well be charging. So that is the number one rule of owning an EV. I call it the ABC, always be charging. So I know that
Okay.
ABC
Yeah.
for you stands for another thing, and sometimes I use that
Y-
joke as well.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
for me, ABC stands for always be charging. If you're not driving the
Yeah.
car, then plug it in. Doesn't matter if it's a
Yeah.
fast charger or if it's a slow charger, as long as you can plug it in. And even if you get just, let's say, 10, 15 kilometers of range back, that's already going to be super helpful.
Yeah,
Uh, I,
it's a plus.
yeah, it's a plus, and not only that, I always remember this because there was this one occasion where I basically got to the charging station with just 1 kilometer of range left. So never run out of battery, but it goes to show that yes, every little opportunity matters, every little opportunity, every little chance that you might have to put in a few extra kilometers on your vehicle, that is definitely doable. And
You
well,
know,
I've already.
there's a new meme online. You know that danger sign on the road with the big descent with the big incline going down.
Oh yeah, that
I
for
don't
me
know.
means free energy.
Yeah, exactly. For me, oh, free energy. Okay, free charging. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So yeah, that's one of the things that people can be aware of. Now,
Hmm.
granted, some people and being as you called me a trailblazer, it basically meant that when I first got my EV, there were not that many around, and even fewer persons were running tours with electric vehicles, and definitely no one else was running tours to the Douro Valley with electric vehicles. So
Yes,
I got a
I
lot.
confirm that. I remember.
I remember very clearly that I got asked a lot of questions from curious people back in the day. So this was pre-pandemic, 2018, 2019, and the top five of questions, it was very similar. So how much can the car go on a single charge? How fast does it recharge? Um, how much does it cost to recharge? Are those charging stations easily available, or how do you do to find them? So these are very common questions, and a lot of people they were like a little bit hesitant on the on getting an EV because I heard lots of stories. For example, people who were like, "So my lease is coming up, and I'm considering changing cars. I need to change cars, so I'm considering going for an EV, but I'm a little bit afraid because there is this one trip that I take twice a year that goes beyond the regular range of the car." And so my answer for them was, so you're telling me that you're skipping on huge savings that you get from using an EV just because you need to go on that long distance trip once or twice a year. And I told them, look, you save throughout the year, and then when you get the hang of what the electric car is capable of, then you can take the electric vehicle on that long distance trip. Sure, you probably are going to need to plan your stops a little bit better, but if you don't feel confident enough in taking your EV, well, with the money that you just saved, you can rent a gasoline
Exactly.
car for that week or for those 2 weeks, for those two occasions that you go on the long distance trip and have peace of mind.
Hmm.
But yeah, other things are, for example, battery technology and whatnot. People have asked me that they heard those unfounded rumors that well, the battery is going to need to be replaced soon enough because it's going to be like the cell phones or like the laptops. And well, I can probably say that I'm well into the 6 digits of kilometers on my vehicle, and I'm still on the original battery. I'm still on the original motors. It's a dual motor, so and sure, I have seen a little bit of battery degradation, but it's nothing that is preventing me from using the EV on a day-to-day basis. I even did already twice this year the trip from Porto down to the Algarve, and well, this year I have it's not it's not one extra passenger, it's a small one that is actually very demanding, and we did the trip no problem. So yeah, sustainability is actually at the very core of what I started doing, and took me a little bit to get it up and running and to have the infrastructure set up as I would like. But I would say that nowadays it's very easy to go around in Portugal and in many other countries using an EV. In fact, every other car that you see on the road right now is an EV over here in Portugal. And I would urge people to get an experience uh, with an EV, ask questions because, well, I started it over here in the north, in the Douro Valley. Lionel, you're now doing it down in Lisbon. And I imagine that you're probably considering taking your ID Buzz into other destinations a little bit
It's
further away from
it
your
it
home
almost
base.
it all it was almost the van chosen for today's tour to go to Porto. Okay, I almost took the bus to do this tour. But as I have the other Mercedes, so I played safe. But I pretty much was doing the math and calculating it, and I'm pretty sure that for these Lisbon to Porto to Lisbon tours, it's from what the way that I now know the vehicle, how to drive, how it drives, and the efficiency of it, I'm very comfortable to do a Lisbon to Porto tour with it. Already knowing that the infrastructure in some key points that I stop, that I use, it helps. Okay. So two of the main stops that I do, it has easy access to chargers right there. So would be perfectly
Yeah.
doable what I did today. Yeah.
No, it's actually a very important expression that you used over there. I calculated.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's going to be like this. It's a new technology, and people have to calculate how they're going to do it. They're going to have to figure it out. But like you said, and this is your experience, you've had the buzz for what, 6 months now?
7 months. Yeah.
7 months. So you see, you're already feeling comfortable to the point where
Mhm.
you don't need to plan. You just take it and you go because you know that the infrastructure is there, it's reliable.
Yeah.
Portugal is actually well served in that regard. There are some positive aspects in the infrastructure in Portugal. There are some negative aspects to the infrastructure in Portugal, but for the most part, it's relatively easy to deal with. And well, I would urge people to get an experience with someone who is driving an EV, and beyond the tour that you'll be having, you get the opportunity to ask experienced EV drivers how they must do, how they operate, what are the obstacles that they found during their day to day, and for the most part, you're going to see that. Um, the biggest obstacle for me was I regret not doing this even sooner, to be honest, because it's super nice. It's super tranquil to ride an EV. I feel like I'm a little bit spoiled. I don't think I can ever go back to a gasoline car, to be honest. But what started off as for me at least, what started off as a curiosity and as a approach to being more sustainable, with sure, it's a very high-end vehicle. It's now very commonplace to see a lot of people, they know how to deal with electric vehicles, with charging it, whatnot. It's not that dissimilar from a regular car. And I would even go further and I would say EVs are cars for dummies because maintenance is low. The only thing that you have to deal with is basically topping up windshield wipers fluid and changing tires here and there. There's very other little
Mhm.
maintenance that you need to do. And so it's actually much more simple to drive an EV than it is a gasoline car. And well, with a couple of guides who are now using the EV, you can ask your questions and you can feel you can get a sense of how the car operates. Ask us those questions. We're more than happy to answer them. In the beginning, I actually got a lot of people telling me that I probably sold more Teslas than the guys at the Tesla dealership because of all of the people who were asking me questions. And I've had a few converts during my tour. So yeah, it's a nice thing to do. It's a nice thing to have. And again, this started off as a curiosity, a way of being more sustainable. Soon enough, we're already seeing these changes happening in the cities where they're directing people to low CO2 or zero emission technologies for mobility, and soon enough, I think this is going to be mandatory. So yeah, these are just some of my thoughts over here. I have many other experiences that I could share. I could go on and on for another hour or so, sharing experiences that I had with an EV. But I think this is the future, and I've heard just to close this my part of the conversation. I just saw on the news today or yesterday that the Stellantis group is actually abandoning hydrogen technology as a zero emission technology because they don't see the economic viability on it, especially with the very high EV penetration on the market. I'm an advocate that for small vehicles, hydrogen is a little bit of a mistake, but I do believe that hydrogen still has its mix in the, or still has its place in the energy mix of the future, particularly, for example, for things like buses and
Mhm.
long haul
Yeah.
trucks and things like that. So it's a
It's
promising technology, but it has to be applied in the correct space.
I've read that, and as you know, I'm a big car enthusiast, and I constantly read stuff. My Facebook feed, it's pretty much travel groups and car related websites. So I saw that, and I'm a big fan of the technology. So, but the biggest thing it's the whole new infrastructure needed for the personal vehicle usage. Okay, but
Mhm.
we have some examples in Portugal of buses driven that way, and you have a big bus manufacturing company not so far from Porto, from one of the big automaker groups in Portugal, or auto reseller groups in Portugal, and they've been investing a lot into that because it makes sense for those big vehicles, because they end up creating an infrastructure to kind of recharge or refill at specific spots. Okay, if you have a fleet of 100 or 200 buses, you have one refueling station on your hub, and
Mhm.
things do work. If you have personal vehicles, you are not going to build hydrogen stations like you have gas stations. That's been one of the things, but it's
Oh
always
yeah,
good to have
but I have
different
my
approaches.
I have my charging station at home, and with a couple of
Yeah,
solar panels that I'm planning on installing in the coming weeks or months, I'm actually will be producing my own fuel.
but it's easier to install anything electric, as you know, because
Of course,
uh,
yeah.
you already have the electric grid. Then kind of recreating all this. So that has been supposedly by some of the people on the business, from the big CEOs. There's been one of the downsides of the hydrogen technology, and the fuel cell and all that. But yeah, just reading here the comments about Pedro. Yes, he's driving hybrid, and there are now some nine-seaters also hybrid as well. In fact, as you know, Pedro, I was on the business, or I was getting quotes for one that we both like, but it ended up not happening. Um,
No, but
Synthetic fuel,
let me tell
yeah.
you this, answering to Pedro over here. Going hybrid, particularly if you're going for plug-in hybrid or even a general hybrid, I think that nowadays, personally, it's a bit of a mistake for one simple reason. The battery is very small. which means that you are going to basically do the cycle that the battery is rated for, because the batteries are usually rated for something like 3,000, 5,000 cycles. And so with a smaller battery, it means that you'll be doing those 5,000 cycles quite a bit more quickly. And not only that, um, you're basically either using the electric or the gasoline. And sometimes you use both in tandem. But the thing is, you're going to have severe efficiency losses because you're going to be carrying around the motor plus the fuel, or the battery, the motor plus the battery for one of the motors, and that's not being used. And so you have a very short range EV where you're going to do many cycles on it rather quickly on the battery. And then on top of that, you're gonna have the expense of the maintenance of the combustion engine part. So I would say that hybrids right now, in my opinion, again, and take it with a grain of salt, you are free to try to change my mind, obviously, but in my opinion, hybrids are basically the worst of both worlds. But
Yeah, I've seen that approach as well. Okay, the thing here is, I've been talking with Pedro about this. For what we had been looking for to the market, there were no reasonable electric options. Okay, let me be very, very straightforward with this. The ID Buzz, it's a very efficient vehicle, seven-seater, very comfortable, no room for luggage. Okay, so for a certain kind of market, it doesn't work. There is nothing in the market, 8 or 9 seater, with the same efficiency as the ID Buzz, and the reason is simple. Pretty much every 8 or 9 seater van is based in a combustion vehicle, a combustion model. And the electric versions are pretty much kind of just adapted into the combustion vehicle. So the efficiency, it's not even close. Okay, and we've
mhm,
been talking about this even with you, Sergio. By example, taking the example of the EQV, it's crazy that it has like a consumption 8 to 10 kilowatts per 100 kilometers above, okay, the ID Buzz. So it doesn't make sense at all for such a van. I would love to have one, but it's impossible to use one with such a consumption
mhm,
because the conversion hasn't gone well, okay, and that's happening. So when people go about the plug-in hybrids, it's really a way to kind of work around these zero emission zones. And I was on the market for one. I had some very interesting quotes. But in fact, it would be just a kind of a kind of a band-aid solution to solve the issue. Okay, and now just reading here the comment of Kelly. Um, yeah, each country has its different reality. In fact, in Australia, it's a totally different reality from what we have in Portugal. Uh, um, so the thing is, that's why for every situation, for every challenge, okay, there might be a different solution. That's why I feel probably a little bit premature to see some manufacturers abandoning, by example, the hydrogen alternative, because it could make sense for some different realities. But also, such wide countries might not be on the situation of having the kind of the greenhouse effect or the pollution issues that we are facing in smaller countries like ours in our major cities or in some bigger cities throughout Europe. But in fact, it's something that it's interesting to be addressed because yeah, we've been talking, me and Sergio, we've been talking about our reality here in Portugal, and what we have now, it makes total sense. Okay, we might go inland, and the range might be a little bit of an issue here and there, but it's not totally impossible to work with. But in the reality, like Australia, it's really unthinkable to go this way.
yeah,
So uh, uh, to each one its own, because it's a totally different story.
yeah.
But
So
yes,
I
it's
would say
very interesting to get this point of view.
Yep, I would say that to Kelly again, and this has to do with the reality because often people don't realize just looking at the map how big Australia actually is. It's a huge continent, and in Australia, well, let me backtrace this a little bit to the Portuguese situation. One of the reasons why Portugal has been so successful with EV so far has to do with the fact that we have, first of all, big incentives, financial incentives for the acquisition of vehicles for businesses, particularly if those vehicles are EVs. And then the gas that we pay over here is actually amongst the most expensive gas that we have
Mhm.
in Europe. And so when you do the math on this, the financial incentives plus the gas savings, it does make financial sense to go EV as well, with obviously the added bonus that you're saving the environment from CO2 emissions and other kind of negative emissions. But the EV technology, and this is coming from a person who has been following the EV space for, I want to say 9, maybe even 10 years now, I have seen huge increases in both battery technology as well as charging technology. And when I first started driving an EV, when I first got my car, the only public charging stations that were available, the fast chargers, they were capped at 50 kilowatts. And for me to fill the battery of my car, I would need 2 hours at a fast charging station. Nowadays, particularly with the Tesla superchargers, and because the battery chemistry has evolved, the technology has evolved, basically, the internal combustion engine has peaked already, and I would say you're getting small gains of efficiency here and there. But EVs are relatively new technology, and with any new technology, the development, particularly in the first couple of years, is going to be exponential. And so I can tell you that at a supercharger, my car, after driving for 2 hours to bring it back up to 80%, it takes me something like 30 minutes. With the newer cars and the newest superchargers on the road right now, to go from I actually have I saw I was on the Tesla website earlier today. You can get something like 280 kilometers of range, and this is with the Model X, which is the least efficient of the Tesla vehicles. You can get to 280 kilometers of range in 15 minutes. So you plug in the car, you use a bathroom, you take a coffee, and by the time that you're done, you already got 300 kilometers of range back into the car, which is usually enough for driving 2 to 2.5 hours. So I would say that my bladder range, it's actually less than my car range. And when I need to stop before going to the bathroom, I plug in the car and I basically just do my business, and the car is waiting for me. I'm not waiting for the car. So that 7 hour drive that you're doing, well, you're probably looking, if you had to stop to recharge the car, I would say you're probably going to spend with the newer technology. And if you have the charging stations available along your route, you're probably going to spend something like a total of 45 minutes to 1 hour driving, sorry, to 1 hour charging. And even then, because, okay, it's going to add 1 hour to the total duration of your trip. But from my personal experience, when I do long distance trips, and I did it twice already this year with my wife and my son on board, we went from Porto to the Algarve. Instead of 5 hours, it takes us 6 hours. I get to the Algarve and I'm much more well rested than if I had driven straight. So, yeah, there are advantages to be had. And it's peaceful, it's tranquil, we're saving the environment. The regulations are surely coming up, they are catching up. And I would say just get ahead of the curve and have an EV experience. Book a test drive, ask for an overnight at one of your preferred dealerships and whatnot. See what they have over there, and try to live with an EV for a weekend or so and see how it goes for you. Maybe you'll get to the conclusion that it's going to be a very nice experience. I already knew what I was getting myself into because, well, as a somewhat of an early adopter over here in Portugal, I basically had to do my own research. That's why it took me a year and a half or so of research before finally deciding to take the plunge because information was scarce. There was not a whole lot of people who were driving EVs. Nowadays, you probably have friends, family, whatnot, who own one and who can tell you how it is to live with one. Some people are happy, some people are less happy. But again, it all depends on the situation. It all depends on the context that you live, your work, your life context, your basically everything. But I do believe, I'm a strong believer, that it's probably going to be the future, and the future is coming at us fast. Tomorrow is the future, and we're going to bed right now, and the future will be here tomorrow. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's been a very interesting chat. So with a totally different approach, and for those that just arrived, we started this, and well, we kind of dived a little bit in this EV world, so driving electric. But we started this with the regulations that are being put in place from the cities limiting the emissions, the quality or the poor quality of air that we are having in our major cities. Lisbon, it's always beyond critical levels, according to the World Health Organization. Porto has a few issues here and there. And if, well, some of you might have seen, some might have not. On my very recent video I did about Sintra, it's not just about the emissions, it's about the noise, okay? And this is another very important subject. It's pretty much when you are traveling to a certain destination, and I always imagine this. When you are having those well tours at sunrise or at sunset to see, well, a very idyllic, a very unique image, a landscape, or even for people that like to explore nature to see, well, some natural habitats, some animals, some stuff, people are very cautious with the approach. Okay, everybody remains quiet, everybody makes the least noise possible, otherwise they are not going to have the experience that they were expecting. Okay, so imagine that you are in such a beautiful and unique place, and I'm going back to Sintra once again. If you didn't see the video, well, I mentioned this a few times. Sintra, it's all about the blend of nature with architecture, and the kings and the wealthy businessmen that ended up building the beautiful palaces over there, I'm pretty sure they were not envisioning that to be enjoyed or visit or to be a fruition space um, with noise. Okay, it was something really to be there, hear the birds, enjoy just that tranquility. So why do people keep booking experiences in vehicles that don't help the experience at all? Okay, and I keep saying this: people's fun or what is fun for some might be annoying for many more. Okay, so being next to the road and barely being able to talk with my guests happens often. Having people with well loud music, shouting, stuff like that, but that is a kind of personal behavior you cannot control. uh, it doesn't make it pleasant. But if the place is tranquil, if the place is quieter, and if people adopt this well sensible approach by booking or hiring something that doesn't harm the environment, everything that is off the chart will be noticed much more. And the way that it will be noticed, it's by having more people not wanting to experience that. Okay, it reminds me, by example, and nothing against this. I didn't go into Quinta da Regaleira for probably over 2 years, and I had the luck or not to go down the tunnel with a huge group of kids making a big echo on the tunnel, and of course, well, they were having their fun. Okay, but sometimes you feel, well, this is not the experience I want to provide. This is not the experience I want to get. Okay, but this I cannot control. I cannot go there and say, sorry, no kids over here. Okay, I would never go that way. But if you have the chance to make a choice, to make a decision that doesn't harm the place and doesn't affect the quality of your experience and mostly the experience of the others, take that chance, take that leap, take that decision. Because anyone that is kind of running these kind of experiences needs to adapt, needs to move forward. And I'm a big car enthusiast, and I've driven plenty of vehicles. I'm the kind of person that also already has its share of I would say silly things in the past, but we're moving forward. Okay, we're evolving, and for this kind of purpose, for this kind of experience, it's really not something that I really want to be part of. So I'm making my share. I'm making the possible that I can, taking the leap, taking big investments into the quality of the experience. Sergio did the same long time ago because he really believed that this would be a pleasant and different experience, and people really appreciate our options. So travelers
Hmm.
have the chance to also to take sensible options by choosing what they want to support, what they want to endorse, by really going this way. And regarding sustainability, I'm going to take some other moves pretty soon. I still working on it. Nothing to do with vehicles, but it's all about the evolution that we need to put in our business. So it's pretty much my 2 cents about this.
Yeah, air quality is important, but you were also
Mhm.
mentioning the noise pollution, which is
Yeah.
an important factor. And one of the things that I'm proud to host, I skipped it last year for personal reasons because that was the year my son was born. So I was not about to take a 2-month-old on this journey, or 2 or 3-month-old on this journey. But ever since 2020, I have been organizing an event for the Tesla Owners Club over here in Portugal, which
Mhm.
I call the Douro Valley Sunset. And it's one of those beautiful moments where you want people to just be at peace, be one with the environment, having a good time all together, but at the same time enjoying what the location is all about. And I usually organize it at the village where we have a family house. We have a picnic at sunset, and it's very beautiful. And the last time that we were there, I was able to get something like 20 cars up there. People were at first, the people of the village, they were at first obviously a little bit afraid because it's a small village and they're not used to seeing
Mhm.
20 car commotion over there. But then when we all started realizing, the first thing that people said was, I even didn't hear you coming.
Yeah.
Only when
Yeah.
we were parking did they realize that there was a bunch of cars arriving over there. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing to have. And you can actually tell when you're passing an electric vehicle, or sometimes you can't because the car goes by you in such a quiet manner that you're actually able to sneak up on people who are just a little bit more distracted. Happens to me very frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have. And there are certain places, there are certain locations where you can only truly enjoy the what the place is all about when you don't have a whole lot of noise around you. For
Exactly.
me, that's precisely one of the reasons why I opted for an EV for this because I knew that they are super tranquil, they are super quiet. And when we're doing one of those private roads at one of the vineyards of the valley and we roll our windows down, we don't even hear the car. The only thing that we hear is a little bit of the whooshing sound of the wind passing by the vehicle, but we hear birds, we hear animals, we hear the rustling of the leaves.
Mhm.
Uh, of the vines, and so it completely transforms the experience. Instead of having a basically an engine just muffling
Yeah.
all of those
Yeah.
sounds. So
Yeah.
people often don't realize and this happened to me very frequently. Sometimes when people look at the duration of the tour, they're like, "Oh, it's going to be 11 hours," but they feel so well rested at the end of the day, and that's not
Mhm.
just because of the tour structure itself. I would say that it's also partially because of the my choice of vehicle, because they get a fantastic experience this way because
Yeah.
they get to relax. And I can tell you that after lunch, it's very common that I have people sleeping in the car. It's very
Oh yeah.
frequent.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
So, yeah, two of us and 50
we
minutes
yeah,
in.
exactly. So we've been having a lot of fun over here, and just the two of us. Now imagine if we had the party guy. So
Yeah.
it
Well,
would be
hopefully you
party all
enjoyed a
night.
yeah, hopefully he enjoyed a nice sunset as well, not
Yeah,
too noisy
exactly.
wherever he is. So that's what we can wish Gabriel. And
Well,
he is the only one who is still missing an EV on the roster over here. So,
yeah,
eh,
but it's gonna happen. Okay, it's
yeah,
gonna happen
sure.
pretty soon. So, well, once again, thank you, Sergi, for this great chat. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Today we went into a totally different topic, but in fact, I hope that this opened up a little bit of a different perspective of why we are going this way, why we are doing this, but also how well people can make the change by taking some sensible decisions. And well, we'll be back next week with more stuff and probably with well some amazing news. So well, I wish you a great week. Tomorrow I'm gonna go on an amazing tour. And well, I'll see you back next week. Feel free to ask your questions here on Portugal Unplugged. And well, as always, I'm gonna post this on YouTube, so you are free to share this with all your friends. Okay. Thank you for watching. See you next
Thank
week.
you
Thank you,
all.
Sergio.
See you next week. See you, Lunel.
Thank you.